You're tired of being the good man who gets ignored, tired of caring more than others, tired of being loyal to people who treat loyalty like weakness. So here's the problem we're solving today. How does a man stop being emotionally easy to break and become impossible to control? Not by becoming cruel, but by becoming untouchable. There is a moment in every man's life when he realizes something brutal. The world does not reward purity. It rewards power, discipline, and control. And if you are too warm, too forgiving, too available, people don't protect you, they use you. A cold-hearted man is not born evil. He is born awake. And once he wakes up, he never sleeps the same again. Wanting emotions are liabilities until mastered. A man does not become cold in one night. He becomes cold in stages, slowly, like a flame that keeps getting starved of oxygen. At first he is only disappointed. Then he becomes cautious. Then he becomes silent. And one day, without announcing it to anyone, he stops reacting the way he used to. People call it cold. But what it really is control. The truth is simple, but men avoid it because it sounds harsh. Emotions are not evil, but they are dangerous when they are untrained. They are the easiest doorway into a man's mind. They are the easiest way to control him without chains. If someone can make you angry, they can make you reckless. If someone can make you jealous, they can make you foolish. If someone can make you desperate, they can make you obedient. And if someone can make you feel guilty, they can make you surrender your self-respect just to feel clean again. A man who has not mastered his emotions is not living freely. He is living on a leash, and the leash is held by whoever knows how to pull the right feeling out of him. This is why emotional men are often good men, but rarely powerful men. They want to do the right thing. They want to be fair. They want to be loyal. They want to be understood. But wanting those things does not protect them. In fact, those desires become pressure points. The world is full of people who do not need to overpower you physically. They only need to provoke you emotionally. They only need to trigger your fear of losing someone, your fear of being alone, your fear of being disliked, your fear of being judged. Once they can activate those fears, they can guide your actions like a puppet. This is where coldness begins, not from cruelty, from realization. The man who becomes strong starts to notice patterns. He notices how people behave when he is calm versus when he is emotional. He notices how many arguments happen not because the issue is serious, but because his pride was touched. He notices how often he makes decisions that are not intelligent but emotional. He notices how he gives too much, not because it is wise, but because he is afraid of losing connection. He notices how he forgives too quickly, not because someone deserves it, but because he hates conflict. He notices how he tries to prove his worth, not because he is insecure in his ability, but because he wants approval. And then something changes inside him. He begins to see emotion the way a strategist sees fire. Fire can cook your food, warm your home, and light your path. But if you carry it carelessly, it burns everything. Emotion is the same. It can give you love, passion, courage, and loyalty. But if it is uncontrolled, it makes you impulsive, needy, reactive, and weak. This is why the cold-hearted man seems calm in situations that would break others. It is not because he feels nothing. It is because he has trained himself to feel without obeying. He has learned that feeling is not the same as acting. He has learned that anger is not a command. Sadness is not a command. Desire is not a command. Fear is not a command. They are signals. And signals are meant to be interpreted, not blindly followed. Most men live as if emotions are rulers. The strong man makes them servants. The moment you understand this, your entire life changes. You stop being easy to provoke. You stop being easy to guilt. You stop being easy to manipulate. You stop being easy to rush. You stop being easy to bait. People will try, of course. They will test you. They will throw words at you. They will use disrespect, flirtation, silence, attention, and rejection like tools. They will try to see if you still react like the old version of you. And if you do react, they will learn how to control you. Because a man who reacts is a man who can be directed. So the cold man does something that feels unnatural at first. He pauses. He does not respond instantly. He does not explain instantly. He does not defend instantly. He does not chase instantly. He does not attack instantly. He lets the moment pass through him like wind passing through a mountain. He watches his own feelings rise. He watches his ego demand action. He watches his pride demand revenge. He watches his fear demand comfort. He watches his desire demand satisfaction. And then he chooses. That is the real difference. Choice. Weak men do not choose. They react. They are not living, they are responding. They are not leading their life, they are being led by their mood. Their mood changes, their decisions change. Their mood changes, their standards change. Their mood changes, their self-respect changes. The cold man does not allow that. He learns that discipline must be stronger than emotion. That patience must be stronger than impulse. That silence must be stronger than the need to be heard. That self-respect must be stronger than loneliness. That long-term power must be stronger than short-term pleasure. This is not soft. This is not gentle. This is not romantic. It is harsh, it is sharp, it is lonely sometimes, but it creates a man who is stable, and stability is one of the rarest forms of power, because people trust stability, people fear stability. People cannot easily defeat stability. When you master your emotions, you stop negotiating with the world from a place of desperation. You stop begging for love. You stop begging for attention. You stop begging for fairness. You stop begging for validation. And once you stop begging, you start commanding, not with words, with energy. People feel it when a man is emotionally controlled. They feel it when he does not chase. They feel it when he does not panic. They feel it when he does not get loud. They feel it when he does not fall apart. They feel it when he does not need to win every argument. They feel it when he can walk away without pleading. That is why emotional mastery is the first step toward becoming cold-hearted and strong, because every other keynote depends on it. Betrayal will not sharpen you if you are still emotionally addicted. Detachment will not work if you are still approval-hungry. Respect will not replace love if you are still afraid of being alone. Pain will not become fuel if you still run from discomfort. Walking away will not be possible if you still cling to feelings like they are oxygen. Coldness begins the moment you understand that your emotions are not your identity. They are weather, and a man who is ruled by weather will never build an empire. Tunara's betrayal is the real teacher. Most men believe they will become strong through motivation. They think strength comes from ambition, from books, from mentors, from discipline alone. But that is not how it usually happens. Real strength is rarely chosen at the beginning. Real strength is forced into existence, and the tool that forces it most often is betrayal. Betrayal is not just an event. It is an awakening. It is the moment a man finally sees people without the mask he gave them. Because before betrayal, a man does not see others as they are. He sees them as he wants them to be. He projects his loyalty onto them. He assumes his heart exists in them too. He assumes that because he would never do certain things, other people wouldn't either. That assumption is innocence, and innocence is expensive. A man becomes cold when innocence is removed from him violently. Betrayal is the first time a man learns that love does not guarantee loyalty. That history does not guarantee respect. That effort does not guarantee appreciation. That sacrifice does not guarantee protection. It teaches him that being good is not a shield. It teaches him that being kind is not insurance. It teaches him that being loyal does not make you safe. In fact, sometimes it makes you a target. Because people do not always attack your weakness. Sometimes they attack your strength. They attack the part of you that is rare. Your loyalty, your generosity, your patience, your belief in others. They take it, drain it, and then walk away like it was normal. And the worst part is not even what they did. The worst part is the realization that you allowed it. That you trusted too deeply. That you ignored signs. That you defended them even when they were clearly wrong. That you silenced your instincts just to keep peace. This is why betrayal is a teacher. It does not just expose them, it exposes you. A man remembers betrayal because it cuts deeper than pain. Pain is something you expect from enemies. Betrayal is something you never expect from the people you gave access to your heart. It is not only the action that wounds you, it is the humiliation of being fooled. The humiliation of being played while you thought you were building something real. The humiliation of realizing you were loyal to a version of them that only existed in your mind. And when a man is betrayed, he usually goes through stages. At first, he denies it. He tries to justify them. He tries to create explanations that make the betrayal less real. He tells himself they were confused, they were stressed, they didn't mean it. He searches for reasons because the truth is too sharp to hold. Because accepting the truth means accepting something terrifying, that people can smile at you while planning against you. Then comes anger. Not just anger at them, but anger at himself. Anger that he ignored the red flags. Anger that he stayed too long. Anger that he gave too much. Anger that he made excuses. Anger that he allowed his emotions to override his judgment. This is where many men become reckless. They want revenge. They want to expose. They want to destroy. They want to punish. But revenge is still emotional slavery. Revenge is still letting them control your mind. It is still them living inside you, rent-free, dictating your behavior. The man who becomes truly cold learns something darker. Revenge is optional, and sometimes the best revenge is silence and elevation. Then comes grief, and this is where most men break, because grief is not only sadness. Grief is the death of a belief. It is the death of the version of the world you trusted. It is the death of the fantasy that loyalty is always returned. It is the death of the idea that people will treat you the way you treat them. This is where the transformation begins. A man becomes strong when he stops trying to go back to who he was before the betrayal. Many men make the mistake of wanting their innocence back. They want to feel pure again. They want to trust freely again. They want to love without suspicion again. But life does not work like that. Once you see reality, you cannot unsee it. Once you taste betrayal, you cannot pretend the world is soft. The strong man accepts the new reality. He adapts, and adaptation is what separates the cold man from the broken man. A broken man becomes bitter. He becomes paranoid. He becomes hateful. He becomes weak in a different way. He becomes reactive. He starts assuming everyone is evil. He starts destroying good things before they can hurt him. He starts punishing new people for the sins of old ones. He becomes unstable, defensive, and emotionally unsafe. But a cold-hearted, strong man becomes something else, calculated. He doesn't hate everyone. He simply stops being naive. He stops giving trust as a gift. He starts treating trust as a reward. He stops giving loyalty automatically. He starts making people earn access to him. He stops confusing familiarity with character. He stops thinking time equals truth. Because betrayal teaches a man one of the most important lessons in human nature. People can stay close to you for reasons that have nothing to do with love. They can stay because you benefit them. They can stay because you make them feel important. They can stay because you provide resources, comfort, attention, validation, or status. And the moment the benefit disappears, so do they. That lesson is brutal, but it is clean. It makes a man sharper after betrayal. A strong man begins to study people like a general studies war. He watches how they react when they don't get what they want. He watches how they behave when you say no. He watches how they treat you when you are down. He watches how they speak about others, because he knows they will speak about him the same way. He watches whether they respect boundaries or punish them. He watches whether they apologize with actions or only with words. This is the cold man's education. Betrayal teaches him that the world is not built on what people promise. It is built on what people prioritize. And most people prioritize themselves. They will sacrifice your feelings to protect their ego. They will sacrifice your trust to satisfy their desire. They will sacrifice your loyalty to avoid accountability. So the man who wants strength does something painful. He stops expecting people to be like him. He stops assuming others will match his heart. He stops assuming others will match his honesty. He stops assuming others will match his standards. And this is where his heart becomes cold. Not because he becomes evil, but because he becomes aware. He no longer gives people the benefit of the doubt when the evidence is clear. He no longer stays in places where respect is missing. He no longer explains himself to people who enjoy misunderstanding him. He no longer sacrifices his dignity for connection. He, no matter how much it hurts, chooses self-respect over emotional attachment. And this is the deepest part. Betrayal teaches a man that attachment is dangerous when it is blind. Attachment is power handed to someone else. Because the more attached you are, the more they can destroy you. The more you need them, the more they can control you. The more you fear losing them, the more they can manipulate you. So betrayal does something strange. It creates distance. And distance creates strength. After betrayal, the strong man no longer rushes into love. He no longer rushes into friendship. He no longer rushes into loyalty. He watches. He tests. He observes. He lets time reveal the truth. He understands that anyone can perform for a moment, but very few can maintain character under pressure. Betrayal turns a man into someone who values proof over promises. It turns him into someone who respects actions more than words. It turns him into someone who would rather be alone than surrounded by snakes. And the coldest part is not what he becomes. The coldest part is what he stops being. He stops being the man who trusts easily. He stops being the man who explains endlessly. He stops being the man who gives second chances to people who never deserve the first. He stops being the man who thinks love is enough. He stops being the man who believes loyalty guarantees safety. 3D detachment creates power. A man begins his life seeking connection. He wants to belong, to be admired, to be desired, to be chosen. He measures his worth by how many stay, how many approve, how many applaud. In the beginning, attachment feels like strength. To love deeply feels noble. To care intensely feels honorable. To commit fully feels powerful. But time teaches a harsher lesson. The more attached a man becomes, the more vulnerable he is to control. Detachment is misunderstood. Many confuse it with indifference, with emotional emptiness, with the inability to love. But detachment is not the absence of feeling. It is the absence of dependency. It is the ability to care without surrendering control of yourself. It is the ability to value someone without needing them to validate your existence. The attached man negotiates from fear. He fears losing the relationship, losing the approval, losing the opportunity, losing the image. And because he fears loss, he compromises his standards. He tolerates disrespect. He accepts half effort. He forgives too quickly. He explains too much. He chases too often. His decisions are not guided by strategy but by anxiety. An anxious man cannot be powerful because his actions are reactions to the possibility of loss. Detachment changes this entirely. When a man becomes detached, he shifts from "I hope they stay" to "they can stay if they align." That small difference creates enormous power, because now he is not trying to hold anyone. He is evaluating them. He is not afraid of being left. He is prepared to walk away. And the man who is prepared to walk away is the man who cannot be cornered. Power belongs to the one who needs the least. This is a principle that governs relationships, business, friendship, and even conflict. The one who needs the deal less has leverage. The one who needs the approval less has authority. The one who fears loss less has control. When you are attached, your need is visible, and need invites exploitation. People can sense when you are afraid to lose them. They can feel when you are invested beyond balance. And once they feel it, the dynamic changes. Respect weakens. Effort decreases. Boundaries are tested. Because when someone knows you won't leave, they stop trying to keep you. Detachment restores balance. It forces others to earn their place in your life continuously. Not through grand gestures, but through consistency. Because the detached man does not cling to history. He does not say, "But we've known each other for years." He says, "Who are you today?" He does not say, "But I love her." He says, "Does she respect me?" He does not say, "But we've built something." He says, "Is it still aligned with who I am becoming?" This mindset unsettles people. It makes them uncomfortable. Because most people rely on emotional contracts that are never spoken. They rely on your attachment as insurance. They assume your loyalty is permanent regardless of their behavior. But the detached man does not operate on assumptions. He operates on present reality. To detach, a man must confront his greatest fear, being alone. Many men stay in weak positions not because they are blind, but because they are afraid. Afraid of silence. Afraid of starting over. Afraid of empty spaces. Afraid of not being chosen. They would rather accept a lesser role in someone's life than face solitude. But solitude is not weakness. Solitude is refinement. It is in solitude that a man learns whether he enjoys his own company or merely distracts himself from his own thoughts. Detachment is born in solitude. When a man learns he can survive alone, he becomes dangerous. When he learns that loneliness will not kill him, he stops tolerating what slowly destroys him. When he realizes that peace is better than chaotic attachment, he begins choosing differently. And this is where power begins to show. The detached man does not argue loudly. He does not threaten dramatically. He does not beg for understanding. He does not compete for attention. If something violates his standard, he adjusts his presence. If something disrespects his value, he withdraws access. If something becomes misaligned, he reduces investment. He moves quietly, but his movement is decisive. This quiet decisiveness creates authority. People begin to realize that access to him is conditional, that closeness is earned, that disrespect has consequences, not explosive consequences, not theatrical consequences, just absence. Absence is powerful. Because when you remove your energy, your attention, your effort, your warmth, people feel it. They feel the space you used to fill, and they understand without words that they miscalculated. Detachment also sharpens judgment. Attachment blinds. When you are emotionally invested, you excuse behavior you would never tolerate from others. You rewrite narratives to protect your illusion. You ignore evidence because accepting it would require painful decisions. Detachment clears vision. It allows a man to see patterns without distortion. It allows him to observe without immediately defending. It allows him to think before reacting. Strategic thinking requires emotional distance. A general cannot afford to panic on the battlefield. A leader cannot afford to collapse under criticism. A powerful man cannot afford to have his mood dictated by someone else's inconsistency. Detachment ensures stability. Stability ensures clarity. Clarity ensures control. Some will accuse the detached man of being cold. They will say he has changed. They will say he is distant. What they truly mean is that he is no longer easily manipulated. They are reacting to the loss of influence, not the loss of affection. Detachment does not mean you love less. It means you love with awareness. It means you give without surrendering your standards. It means you care without abandoning your boundaries. It means you remain capable of connection, but not enslaved by it. There is a subtle shift that happens when a man truly detaches. He stops trying to be chosen. He chooses. He stops trying to impress. He evaluates. He stops asking, "Do they like me?" He asks, "Do they qualify?" That shift transforms his posture, his speech, his decisions, and even his silence. When a man becomes detached, rejection loses its power over him. Because he understands something essential: rejection is redirection. If someone walks away, it reveals incompatibility, not inadequacy. If someone disrespects him, it reveals their character, not his worth. If someone leaves, it creates space, not scarcity. Scarcity thinking creates attachment. Abundance thinking creates detachment. The detached man believes he can rebuild, reconnect, and recreate. He does not see people as his only chance. He sees them as options within a larger field of possibilities. And this belief radiates. People treat you according to how replaceable you appear to feel. If you behave as though losing them would destroy you, they gain leverage. If you behave as though you will be fine regardless, the power dynamic shifts. Not through arrogance, not through cruelty, through composure. Detachment is composure under emotional pressure. It is the refusal to be rushed into decisions. It is the discipline to wait. It is the strength to let someone reveal themselves fully before investing deeply. It is the willingness to walk away from something good if it threatens something greater. Because power is not about holding tightly. It is about being ready to release. It is about staying centered when others fluctuate. It is about remaining stable when others attempt to provoke. It is about knowing that your value does not rise or fall based on who stays. It is about understanding that the man who controls his attachments controls his destiny. For respect beats love in the real world. Love is celebrated. It is written about, sung about, chased, and worshipped. Men are taught from a young age that being loved is the ultimate achievement. That if someone loves you deeply enough, everything else will fall into place. But the real world does not operate on romance. It operates on structure, and structure is built on respect, not love. Love is emotional. It fluctuates. It rises with pleasure and falls with discomfort. It is influenced by mood, environment, attraction, timing, and personal benefit. Respect is different. Respect is calculated. Respect is consistent. Respect is rooted in recognition of value, boundaries, and consequence. A man who seeks only love builds his life on something unstable. A man who commands respect builds on something far more solid. Love can make someone feel close to you. Respect makes them careful with you. This distinction changes everything. Many men are loved but not respected. They are appreciated for their kindness, admired for their generosity, valued for their support. But when conflict arises, when boundaries are tested, when temptation appears, love alone does not hold the line. Because love without respect becomes comfort, and comfort breeds carelessness. A person may love you and still lie to you. They may love you and still disrespect your boundaries. They may love you and still prioritize themselves over you. Because love is a feeling, and feelings are temporary. Respect, however, regulates behavior. When someone respects you, they think before acting. They measure their words. They consider consequences. They understand that access to you is conditional. Respect creates tension, not toxic tension, but awareness. Awareness that your presence is not guaranteed. Awareness that your standards are not negotiable. Awareness that losing you is possible if lines are crossed. The man who becomes cold-hearted and strong understands that being loved is pleasant, but being respected is powerful. Love makes people feel safe around you. Respect makes people act correctly around you. There are men who try to buy love with sacrifice. They overextend themselves. They tolerate too much. They give endlessly. They forgive repeatedly. They assume that if they love harder, everything will stabilize. But what often happens is the opposite. The more they tolerate, the less they are valued. The more they sacrifice, the more it is expected. The more they forgive without consequence, the more they are tested. Because when there are no consequences, respect erodes. Respect is maintained through boundaries and enforcement. It is maintained when your no means no. It is maintained when your silence signals withdrawal, not weakness. It is maintained when your standards are not flexible under emotional pressure. It is maintained when your words and actions align consistently. A respected man does not need to raise his voice. He does not need to threaten. He does not need to demand loyalty. His presence communicates expectation. His behavior communicates discipline. His history communicates consequence. This is why respect is feared more than love. Love can be manipulated. Respect must be earned. In leadership, in relationships, in business, and even in friendship, respect stabilizes dynamics. A man who is loved but not respected will eventually be taken for granted. A man who is respected, even if not adored, will rarely be dismissed. This does not mean love has no place. It means love must be supported by respect. Without respect, love turns into emotional indulgence. Without respect, affection becomes entitlement. Without respect, attachment becomes imbalance. Many men are afraid of being seen as strict or distant. They fear that enforcing boundaries will make them appear cold. So they soften their standards to avoid conflict. But what they do not realize is that every time they ignore disrespect, they teach others how to treat them. Every time they excuse behavior that violates their values, they lower their perceived worth. Every time they prioritize being liked over being respected, they weaken their position. The world measures you by what you tolerate. Respect is not given because you are kind. It is given because you are consistent, because you are disciplined, because you do not bend under pressure, because you do not abandon your standards for approval, because you are willing to lose what does not align. And here is the truth most men avoid. Sometimes you must risk being disliked to be respected. When you say no without apology, some will feel offended. When you enforce boundaries, some will accuse you of changing. When you withdraw from disrespect, some will call you cold. But those reactions reveal dependence on your flexibility, not care for your character. A respected man is not controlled by emotional blackmail. He does not trade dignity for affection. He does not negotiate his core values for temporary harmony. He understands that short-term discomfort protects long-term authority. Respect also strengthens internal stability. When you demand respect from others, you must first respect yourself. You must honor your own time. You must protect your own energy. You must keep promises to yourself. You must maintain discipline when no one is watching. Self-respect is the foundation of external respect. A man who lacks self-respect seeks love desperately because he needs reassurance. A man who possesses self-respect does not crave constant validation because his identity is stable. His worth is not determined by applause or attention. Love seeks to be felt. Respect seeks to be upheld. In difficult moments, love asks, "How do I feel right now?" Respect asks, "What is the right standard to maintain?" Love reacts emotionally. Respect responds strategically. Love can forgive endlessly. Respect forgives selectively and watches for correction. This is why strong men prioritize respect first, not because they reject love, but because they understand its fragility. They understand that affection without structure collapses under pressure. They understand that emotions change, but standards remain. In the real world, contracts are not signed on feelings. Alliances are not built on sentiment. Power is not maintained through romance. It is maintained through credibility, boundaries, and consequence. A man who builds his life around being admired may gain popularity. A man who builds his life around being respected gains influence. Influence shapes outcomes. When people respect you, they hesitate before crossing lines. They think before lying. They reconsider before betraying. They measure their tone before speaking carelessly. Because respect activates caution, and caution protects your position. This is why the cold-hearted strong man does not beg to be loved. He ensures he is respected. If love follows, it is welcome. But if love arrives without respect, he does not accept it. Because he understands that affection without discipline eventually turns into chaos. He does not chase approval. He builds character. He does not plead for loyalty. He enforces standards. He does not attempt to control emotions. He controls access. He does not fear losing those who cannot respect him. He fears losing himself by tolerating what diminishes him. In the end, love may bring warmth, but respect brings order. Love may bring closeness, but respect brings stability. Love may make someone stay for a season, but respect makes them think twice before leaving. Love may feel powerful, but respect is power. Love may speak softly, but respect speaks through consequence. 5e pain becomes fuel when you stop seeking comfort. Most men do not fail because they lack talent. They fail because they cannot tolerate discomfort. They break not from the weight of life, but from the constant need to feel okay. They want progress without pressure, strength without suffering, respect without discipline, and success without sacrifice. But the world does not reward comfort. The world rewards the man who can endure. Pain is the great separator. It divides men into two categories, those who run from it and those who convert it. The weak man treats pain as a warning sign, something to escape. The strong man treats pain as a message, something to decode. Pain is information. It tells you where you are vulnerable, where you are attached, where you are undisciplined, where you are naive, where you are still dependent on others. Pain exposes the parts of you that are soft, and that is why most men fear it. Because pain does not just hurt, it reveals. Comfort hides your weaknesses. Pain reveals them. A man becomes cold-hearted and strong when he stops trying to avoid pain and starts using it. This shift is rare because it goes against instinct. Instinct says, protect yourself. Instinct says, find relief. Instinct says, escape. But strength is built in opposition to instinct. Strength is built when you do the hard thing, even when your body and mind beg you to stop. Most men seek comfort the moment pain appears. They seek distraction. They seek validation. They seek pleasure. They seek someone to rescue them emotionally. They numb themselves with entertainment, addictions, meaningless relationships, and temporary highs. They fill the silence because silence forces reflection. They chase noise because noise prevents truth. But the man who becomes strong does the opposite. He sits with the pain. He allows it to burn through him. He does not rush to numb it. He does not rush to replace what was lost. He does not rush to prove something. He lets pain sharpen him like fire sharpens steel. Pain is not your enemy. Comfort is. Comfort keeps you weak because it makes you dependent. It makes you need ease. It makes you need reassurance. It makes you need softness. And the world is not soft. The world is competitive. The world is unpredictable. The world is indifferent. A man who depends on comfort is always one crisis away from collapse. This is why pain is necessary. Pain is the training ground. Pain forces adaptation. Pain forces growth. Pain forces you to either become stronger or become bitter. And bitterness is the lazy man's version of strength. Bitter men talk about how unfair life is. Strong men build despite it. Bitter men complain about betrayal. Strong men become smarter because of it. Bitter men hate the world. Strong men learn how the world works. Pain can either make you wiser or make you poisonous. The difference is whether you use it or worship it. Many men worship their pain. They make it their identity. They become the man who was cheated on, the man who was betrayed, the man who was rejected, the man who was humiliated. They carry the wound like a badge. They speak about it endlessly. They relive it. They feed it. They let it define their personality. They believe their pain makes them deep, but it only makes them trapped. The cold-hearted strong man does not worship pain. He weaponizes it. He takes the energy of humiliation and turns it into discipline. He takes the energy of rejection and turns it into focus. He takes the energy of loneliness and turns it into self-mastery. He takes the energy of betrayal and turns it into awareness. He takes the energy of failure and turns it into skill. Pain contains power, but most men waste it by crying about it instead of converting it. When a man stops seeking comfort, his entire psychology changes. He no longer asks, "How can I feel better?" He asks, "How can I become better?" He no longer seeks soothing. He seeks improvement. He no longer avoids hard conversations. He welcomes them. He no longer runs from struggle. He uses it as proof that he is alive and growing. The comfort-seeking man needs motivation. The pain-driven man becomes unstoppable because he no longer needs motivation. He has something stronger: necessity. Pain creates necessity. A man who has been humbled by life becomes dangerous because he stops believing in luck. He stops believing in promises. He stops believing in rescue. He starts believing only in preparation. He starts believing only in discipline. He starts believing only in results. This is where coldness is formed, not from cruelty, but from reality. The strong man learns that no one is coming to save him, and instead of collapsing, he rises. He accepts that the world is not obligated to understand him, that people are not obligated to be loyal, that life is not obligated to be fair. He accepts that his suffering is his responsibility, and his improvement is his duty. Comfort makes a man entitled. Pain makes him accountable. A man who seeks comfort avoids accountability because accountability hurts. It forces you to admit you were wrong. It forces you to admit you stayed too long. It forces you to admit you ignored signs. It forces you to admit you were lazy. It forces you to admit you were weak. Comfort would rather protect your ego. Pain destroys your ego, and when your ego is destroyed, you finally become teachable. A cold-hearted strong man is always teachable because he has been punished by his own mistakes enough times to respect truth. Pain also teaches patience. When you are suffering, time slows down. Days feel longer. Nights feel heavier. You want relief immediately. But the man who becomes strong learns to endure the slow process. He learns that healing is not fast. Growth is not fast. Success is not fast. Strength is not fast. He learns to wait without breaking. He learns to work without applause. He learns to train without recognition. He learns to build while still hurting. That is rare. Most men quit when they don't feel good. The strong man keeps going even when he feels nothing. This is why he becomes unstoppable. Because he is not dependent on emotion. He is not dependent on mood. He is not dependent on comfort. He can operate in sadness. He can operate in loneliness. He can operate in anger. He can operate in fear. He can operate in uncertainty. He does not need perfect conditions. He creates results in imperfect conditions. That is real power, and once a man reaches this level, he becomes difficult to manipulate, because manipulation often relies on comfort. People offer comfort to control you. They offer affection to weaken you. They offer pleasure to distract you. They offer attention to hook you. But if you are no longer addicted to comfort, those tools stop working. The cold-hearted strong man cannot be bribed emotionally. He is not moved by flattery. He is not shaken by insults. He is not controlled by silence. He is not desperate for approval. He is not seduced by temporary pleasure, because pain trained him to live without needing to feel good. And this is the secret most people will never understand. Comfort is the enemy of greatness. The man who becomes strong learns to choose discomfort voluntarily. He chooses the gym when he wants rest. He chooses discipline when he wants pleasure. He chooses silence when he wants to complain. He chooses patience when he wants revenge. He chooses work when he wants distraction. And every time he chooses discomfort, he builds strength. The world sees the results and calls him lucky. They call him gifted. They call him naturally confident. They do not see the nights he suffered in silence. They do not see the days he trained while exhausted. They do not see the moments he wanted to quit but didn't. They do not see the pain he carried like a weapon. The strong man does not become cold by shutting off his heart. He becomes cold by refusing to let pain turn him into a victim. He turns pain into fuel, and fuel creates movement. Movement creates progress. Progress creates power, and power creates distance between him and the life that once broke him. Pain is unavoidable, but weakness is optional. Pain will visit every man, but comfort will destroy most men. Pain can break you, or it can build you. Pain can make you bitter, or it can make you sharp. Pain can make you collapse, or it can make you rise. If you've made it this far, understand this clearly. The world doesn't destroy men, it reveals them. So decide what you will do with your pain. Will you keep looking for comfort and stay easy to break? Or will you turn suffering into discipline and become impossible to control? If you want more dark psychology like this, raw, real, and unapologetic, then like this video. Subscribe and comment the word CLDO below so I know you're ready for the next part.